broadcast the reminders that's automated were coming out? Did you receive any? It's supposed to.
Hello and welcome to a NetDispatcher webinar. Today is Thursday, June 29th. Thank you very much for joining us today. We're going to be going over the basic process of doing a basic field service process and how most of our customers typically use the system to their benefit. So what we're going to go ahead and start out with, I'm going to go ahead and close this out. So whenever you are logging into NetDispatcher, this is the screen that you're going to see. So it's just a simple username and password that we're going to use to log in. And from here, it's going to take us to the main page of NetDispatcher, where you will see the user's name. You're going to see statistics down here, which are going to show you how many jobs you actually have right now in the system, customers, assets, materials, all that kind of information. And then whenever we do send out any sort of updates or we have news about the software, we will post that here for you. Also, when you are accessing this website by a mobile device, such as a tablet or a mobile phone, you will see this button down here that will give you a mobile-friendly version. So to kind of give you a brief description of the links that we have up here, once again, typically our customers follow this process right here when it comes to the beginning of starting a sales project and working all the way through to building reports. So like I said, we got our sales project here. You can build your estimates and quotes here. Work orders will be in here. This is where you'll see our schedule, or otherwise known as dispatch board, invoicing, and we go into reporting. So we're going to start off in the sales project section in the leads. So let's say that we have a customer that calls up that is interested in the service that we are providing. So what we can go ahead and do is that we can create a sales project for this person. Now, anybody who is logging in will be able to see their specific sales profile. If they were a part of a team, they would be able to see not only their profile, but their team's profile as well. So they would be able to see all the sales projects that are associated with that team and the sales targets and numbers that have been assigned to that team. So the sales project list here will show you all the projects that you have ever created. Even the ones that you have deleted, you would still be able to access those. It saves pretty much a carbon copy of it, so you would be able to access it. So we can, from here, either open a sales project by simply clicking on which one we want to use, or we can go ahead and click on the new lead up here. So we'll go ahead and click on the new lead, and it's going to bring up a little prompt asking us which form we would like to use. The great thing about our system is that we have the ability to create multiple templates or forms throughout the entire system. So you could build multiple sales projects, estimates, work orders, invoices, even customer cards. You can have as many as you want, and you can design them exactly how you want to the needs of you or your company. So we're going to go ahead and select the webinar form, and we'll click continue. And this is the form that it's going to bring up for us. Now, as you can see, we have the customer card here, basic customer information, and we got the project information down here. You can go ahead, and because this is a required field, all you would need to do is just put in the customer name here. And that is all you would actually need for this sales project, because that was the only field we made a requirement. However, like I said, because you can edit and customize these templates, you can select which fields you want to be required. So since we did fill in that field, we would have the ability to save and close out this sales project. But instead, what we're going to go ahead and do is fill out all the information. So let's go ahead and put the customer name in here again. So let's say that we have a customer by the name of John Smith calling up. As you can see, the little icon here turned into the loading circle, but it could not find anything in our database. So we know that this is a new customer. So let's say that we want to go ahead and just throw them into our customer database. Instead of having to go into the customer section itself, under the maintain section, we can actually click the plus button here. This plus button will bring up a new window asking us which customer card we want to use. And it's going to allow us to create this new customer card without actually having to leave the sales project itself. We could go ahead for the entire thing and enter any information that we do have. Once again, all this information does not have to be put in here because they are not required fields. So if you only get a certain amount of information from the customer, whether it's just a name and a phone number, you would be able to just throw that information in here real quick and come back to it at a later time to update it. Notes we can say that John Smith called Thursday 6/29. Go ahead and click save. And since we saved that customer card, it's going to go ahead and populate all the fields here in the sales project for us. So we can continue down and give it a project name. We're going to call it Smith AC Repair. We can change the status, and we can also change the project owner if needed. But the project owner is going to default to the user that is creating this sales project. All right, once we have all the information that we feel is pertinent to the sales project, we can go ahead and click the Save and Close. And that is now going to put our prospective customer, John Smith, in the sales project list. So let's say John Smith calls back and he says that he wants an estimate or a quote. What we can go ahead and do, also these tabs up here, you notice that you can actually click on them and it's going to change the status or the stage that the sales project is in. So if we click on the sales project, we can go down to the bottom of it and click Create Estimate instead of having to go into the estimate section itself and create a new one from scratch. This way is much easier, and I'll show you why. So when we click the Create Estimate, we'll get another box asking us to select the appropriate form. We'll click Continue. And the reason why this way is much preferred is because it does transfer all the information over. If we were to create a new estimate from scratch, we would have to manually enter in all this information. So we could go ahead and just drop down to the job section since the customer information is all filled in. And we can say that this job is going to be set for tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. And we project that it's going to be completed by 1:30 p.m. on the 30th for tomorrow. And we can go ahead and put in any sort of scope of work. Internal notes, of course, are just going to be for you and the company only. Nobody else would be able to see this. And you can also start adding materials here if you know exactly what the problem is. But if you don't know the problem, then the technician, when he is on the job, he or she is on the job, they would have the ability to update that materials list so that it would show up on the invoice and the work order. So we can go ahead and type in the part here. We can designate a price. So this materials list, you can either manually enter in items, or once again, when you type here in the name box, it's going to search in your materials database and it will pull that material for you and all the information associated with it. So let's say that the customer is satisfied with this estimate. Now we can go ahead and hit Save and Close. Now let's say we want to save and send it to the customer. We go ahead and hit the Save and Send. We can type in that customer's email. As you see, it's going to have the attachment in a PDF form. It's going to have a subject and a message. And these are all defaulted in the system, but you do have the ability to create your own subject and message in the settings section. Or if you want to make it more personal, you would have the ability to edit it in here before sending it off. So since this is a fake email, we're not going to go ahead and send it out. Just going to go ahead and click Cancel. and save and close. So now that estimate has been saved, and it takes us back to our sales project. So let's say that John Smith calls us up and he says that he likes the estimate, he likes what he sees, and he wants to move through. So we could go ahead and change the tab up there to saying that we made a deal. We could go back into the estimate from the sales project itself. Or if you were out of this section, you would be able to access the same estimate I am looking at now by clicking on the estimate tab at the top. So from here, we could scroll down to the bottom, and if we click this arrow now, we're going to get a few more options. Process and when a process are essentially going to be turning this into a work order. A mark as lost is meaning that it's just going to close out the sales project, mark it as a lost. And if you need to save and send it again to the customer's email, you could do so. So we're going to go ahead and click process. And once again, a window is going to pop up asking us to select which job template we want to use to transfer this estimate over. So we're going to use this one, and we're going to click continue. So all the information that was on the estimate will be transferred over into the job. So any of the fields that we're matching between the two templates, they will transfer over. So from here, all you got to do is just select now what service is going to be rendered, because this is how it's going to properly charge the customer and how it's going to show up on the invoice. We're going to set who it's assigned to so that this person would be able to look at it on their dispatch board. We already set the times on our estimates, so we don't have to change those. And then we're going to go ahead and change the job status. Now there's a few options here, as you can see. Open job just means that the job is going to be open, and the only people that will be able to see this is the admin, and they will be seeing it on the jobs list. It will not be sent out to the technician's dispatch board just yet. When you hit sent, that's when it will show up on the dispatch board. And then the next three are typically the one that the technician will be doing in the field. They will be clicking the start, the pause button, or the complete button, or if that technician did forget to do it, admin personnel would have the ability to come in here and manually do it themselves. And then we got canceled, invoiced, waiting for parts, and ready for invoicing. So we're going to go ahead and put sent because we want this to be immediately put on the technician's dispatch board. And once we have all the information that we feel is necessary, we could go ahead and continue with this work order. So we'll go ahead and click save on the work order, let's save on the estimate, and save and close on the sales project. So now if we go to our job section, we can see that we now have the job for John Smith on the dispatch board. So we're going to go into our schedule now to look at the dispatch board to see what is out there. So this is the view for today. You can see that there are quite a few jobs out there right now for multiple employees. The dispatch board is one of the, I guess, highlights and one of the favorites amongst a lot of our customers because of how interactive and how up to date it is. All this information on here does update instantaneously. So whenever a technician in the field is hitting the start, pause, or complete button, these icons are going to change to the appropriate colors, showing you the status of that job. Also, another cool feature here on the dispatch board is instead of having to actually open up the work order and change any information as far as time or who's it assigned to, you would be able to click and drag the icon to a different team member and to a different time. All you would have to do is just click and drag and release it whenever you have found the appropriate spot. And then as you can see here, we got a map view. You can see the jobs and where the locations are at of those jobs. And you can also see where your office is as well. So we're going to go ahead and go to tomorrow's date because that's where we scheduled the job. So as you can see, we got our job for John Smith in here. And we're going to go ahead and open up our mobile to see how this is going to look for John Fred, our technician in the field. So whenever the technician in the field is bringing up the mobile device, this is the mobile view that they're going to see. If they're wanting to see more, they do have the ability to look at a desktop view. All they would have to do is replace the mobile up here with desktop, and they could see a desktop view. So here, all the technician would have to do is just click on the jobs icon. And we could go ahead and change the date up here to the 30th because that's where our job is at. And here we could see any jobs that we may have in progress, jobs that are dispatched out to us, paused, and completed jobs for this day. So let's go ahead and open up this work order. And this is how it's going to appear on the mobile view. So the top item is going to be a setting that you can change yourself in our maintain section under the configure mobile layout. You have the ability to put any kind of information up here that you want to show up. So what we have here is that we have the information showing up for the service that's going to populate here, the customer name, the date, and the time of the service. You'll also be able to see the scheduled times for the job. The actual times are going to auto-populate based off of when the technician hits start and complete. The services that are being rendered, who's it assigned to, and the completed by will once again auto-populate based off of what technician completes the job. We can see a basic job description and the service total automatically populated based off of the service that we selected up here. You can see that we have a checklist here as well, and we do have the ability that we can attach photos. So here the technician would have the ability to look at customer information, to look at where the billing information is, what if there's any phone number or email for contact. And then in the asset is just another word that we use for properties, pieces of equipment, or units that are attached to this customer. And then also, as I mentioned earlier, if the customer needs a certain part, the technician does have the ability to manually add materials here to the work order. So let's say that our technician, John Fred in the field, is good to go and he's ready to start the job. All he would have to do is just click the start button. That is going to start the job for us. And when we go back to the schedule board, we can see that the job goes from a kind of goldish, tannish color to a blue color, signifying that the job has been started. So now as the technician, we're going to go through our checklist, and I'm going to show you how we can add attachments. So we'll click on the actions button here, click on the edit, and we can go through our checklist now and any performance recommendations. And as I mentioned, we could put attachments onto this work order. So we'll go ahead and click add attachment. And we'll just select an attachment here. And when you are adding the attachment, it's going to be kind of faded out a little bit, letting you know that it's load. But once it finally illuminates this blue color, that is letting you know that the file has been uploaded properly and you can save it. Don't forget to hit the save button, otherwise all this information will go away. So we'll go ahead and click save. And we can see that that information is now saved with this work order. So let's say that John Fred is done with the job. All he would have to do now is just click the complete button here on the work order. And if we go back to our scheduling board, we can see that the job goes from the blue to green, signifying that the job has been completed. So the technician would not have to do anything else from there. But if the technician needed to make any sort of correction to the work order, they would have the ability to go back in and correct anything that you allow them to. So from here, after the job has been completed, we could go ahead and invoice this job now. So we'll go back into the job section. We can open up our work order that we completed for John Smith. And we can go down here, change the job status ourselves to ready for invoicing or invoiced. We'll go ahead and change it to invoice. We'll click the create invoice down here in the work order. This is going to bring up our default invoice template. Once again, all the information is going to automatically populate. And if you need to, you can change anything. Nothing is going to prevent you from doing so. So from here, if there were any materials that were added later on, we can go ahead and put them here by clicking on the add rows. If there's a message that you would like to appear for the customer, you can put that here. And then, of course, any internal notes that would just be for you and the company's eyes only, you could put that here. So once again, we can either print this off or we can save and close. And once again, we do have the feature to save and send. We will go ahead and hit save and close because the save and send is much like what we were doing with the estimate. It's going to bring up a dialog box with the customer's email, the PDF attachment, the subject, and the message. So we'll go ahead and hit save and close. And we have just successfully ran through the entire process of creating a sales project for a customer, creating a quote for that customer, processing that quote into a work order. We then dispatched that work order out. I showed you the schedule and dispatch board and how that looked. And we successfully invoiced for that customer. So with the remainder of our time, I'm just going to show you a few other features that we have here in the system under our settings section. So we do have a customer database as well as contacts, assets, materials, and all that stuff. This is information that you can give to us that we can pull from an Excel or CSV file, or it's information that we can input manually. However, if you do have accounting software, say with QuickBooks or Sage, we could actually integrate those accounting programs with NetDispatcher, and we could pull that information from your existing accounting software so that we would not have to do it the long way by exporting all that information. Once again, we can add your services here. These are services that we saw in the service type under the work order. Here you can edit the name of the service, any sort of active dates, and you'd be able to apply the pricing for it, whether it's going to be a fixed rate or an hourly rate. As you can see here, the fixed rate, or you can multiply it by each team member. If we do hourly rate, we're going to get a few more options. So a minimum charge, no matter how long we're on the job, it's going to charge $25. So even if we're there at the job for 5 minutes, it's going to charge $25. How do we want to round? The rounding increment. And do we want to round based off of the value or the time? Also in our system, we do have service agreements. So any contracts that you do have with customers, for landscaping companies, if you have maintenance contracts or snow and ice removal contracts, we could actually put those contracts here in the system and build them for you to the point that it's going to automatically create those jobs, all those jobs for you. Also in the system, we do have alerts and workflows. So you can create customized alerts with messages that will be sent out to the customers. You could have these alerts that are sent out to the customers based off of a given time that you have set, and it will be sent either email or via text message, notifying that the customer that, let's say that they have a job for this morning. It would be notifying them an hour beforehand, letting them know that so-and-so is going to be arriving to perform such service. Over here under resource management, we have the basic settings for the user. If you're admin, you would be able to add and delete and edit any of the users in here. Our resources, those are pretty much employees, pieces of equipment that you may be using, or vehicles that you want to keep track of in the system. You can put them here under the resource. Access management, so users in the system, you can designate them to certain groups, and with those groups you can give them specific access to the system. So if you had a sales team, you can limit that sales team to just the sales and lead section and also the estimate section. They would not be able to have the ability to go anywhere else. We do have time cards that are produced here in the system. After every work order is completed, it will produce a time card that shows any information that you would like. And then once again, a little bit more of the specifics over here as far as layouts, and then any of offices or branches that you guys may have. So that does conclude our brief overview webinar of our field service process today. I'm going to bring up our contact information. If you'd like to see a more extensive demo, please give either myself, Jonathan Frederick, an email or a phone call, or you can contact our sales representative, Kimo Turner, at the information you see on the screen. Like I said, if you would like any another demo, something a little bit more extensive, we do offer the free demos. If you have any basic questions or comments that you want answered, you can give us a call or shoot one of us an email. All right, and once again, this does conclude our webinar for today. Our next webinar will be in 2 weeks, which will be on July the 13th. That time will be changed, however, from 10:30 Central to 8:30 Central. So, thank you very much for joining our webinar today. I am going to leave this screen up for the next few minutes so that you can get our contact information. Like I said, if you have any questions, comments, please do not be afraid to give us a call. We would be more than happy to assist you with anything that you may have. Thank you very much and have a great day.